to learn what to read and more importantly what not to read. These are the major challenges that a student faces, especially those who are attempting for the very first time. Copy pasting the strategy that might have been successful for person X, Y also tries to emulate that model. In that process ends up often misdirecting themselves. And that process is not a moment of epiphany or you will develop it overnight. You, a candidate, will have to understand what is best for him or her and accordingly devise the strategy. The more you will start clocking the time, that means this is the amount of time you have to sit with your paper, maybe it is not the right approach. It is about the quality or about the retention, about the attention span, what you are comfortable with it. The sectional tests are once again fundamental to the program. Once you cover your topics, you go through the tests and then do the process of recapitulation, revision. It has to be an ongoing process. Right? In whatever dimension possible, they will be given the required assistance through this program. So that is the special, what is special about the student portal.
Hello and welcome to this special conversation brought to you by VisionIAS. Well, those aspirants who put in their sincere efforts in 2024 and gave a tough fight must have prepared themselves again for CSE Prelims 2025. And those who are absolutely new to this race, who are going to appear for the first time in a CSE Prelims, must have made themselves conversant with the rules of the game. To cater to the needs of all such aspirants, VisionIAS has come up with its Fast Track Course for Prelims 2025. And to tell us about the salient features of this course, today we have with us an eminent faculty member of VisionIAS, Souvik Sir. Welcome, sir.
Pleasure to connect with the students.
Sir, before we talk about our Fast Track course, we'd like to know from you, what are the common challenges that aspirants face while preparing for CSE Prelims?
I sincerely believe that number one is the bulk of the syllabus. You have so many topics, overwhelming syllabus, and couple of years back it was the paucity of information that was the challenge. The limited information was available in the market. Today, on the other hand, we find a plethora of information. There is no dearth of information over the internet or over anywhere if you are looking for source. That means for the student, I believe that what to follow, how to limit their preparation, to learn what to read and more importantly, what not to read. These are the major challenges that a student faces, especially those who are attempting for the very first time. They try to make a haphazard attempt towards the paper. They start reading one book and then again jump towards the next. Then at the end of the day, they see that they are nowhere. That means they have a lot of information, but they remember none. And they often lack the skill to execute the knowledge they have. That means their skills to implement their knowledge. Repetition is most of the cases lacking. So they find themselves in that situation that they have the paper next day and they have the dilemma whether to appear or not to appear. For most of the students we talk to, especially the day before the paper, so most of them have that feeling of cold feet, that whether or not to appear the paper. So that is, I feel these are some of the interesting challenges that the first timers generally face.
So if you sum up, then everything boils down to how well you manage your time. Now, if aspirants have just begun, so what will be your advice how to manage time well, targeting CSE Prelims 2025?
Again, for this is a very interesting question rather. And I feel that every single aspirant, or they are also scholars, right? They have their own expertise. They have their strength, they have their weaknesses, they have their opportunities, they have their threats. And I feel that for some students, they enjoy core expertise in suppose environment and ecology. Some students have a natural forte pesha for art and culture. For some, they enjoy. So then again, the student has to work on their threats to ensure that they do not lose out on their opportunity, and also definitely do not lose their skill where they enjoy strength. That means the advice cannot be a kind of general advice. It has to be more catered towards the individual. In the present world, we are looking for volume and speed instead of quantity, instead of quality, and we are trying to cater to the bulk of the audience in one formula. The student often ends up feeling alone, and thereby copy pasting the strategy that might have been successful for person X. Y also tries to emulate that model. In that process, ends up often misdirecting themselves, and this often shows the vulnerability of the students. Suppose I know it for a fact that a fair chunk of the students look for clues right before the examination hall, then right before the prelims. That means they go with the clickbaits over the internet, that how to clear or score 200 out of 200 in 15 minutes. So, though exaggerating, so these clues or these random advices are not catered, they are not exactly orchestrated with the requirement of the student. So, here is the challenge. You have to require or understand what attention or area do you need to keep apply your focus on, and that process is not a moment of epiphany, or you will develop it overnight. You, a candidate, will have to understand what is best for him or her and accordingly devise the strategy. This strategy is also subject to improvisation. That means accordingly, I would even suggest you can moderate, you can improvise in the very the last day of the paper or even in the examination hall, but you will not be overnight changing everything you were or what you believed in. That means we often say that first you sharpen the blade, you give entire attention towards sharpening the blade of the axe, and then you chop the tree off, rather than making blunt attempts towards the tree and nothing will happen. It will be a wastage of your energy, time, everything, right?
That means time management is a very individual thing. Try to identify your core areas and the areas that you find very challenging and spend more time on that.
Absolutely. And I would like to also add, because you highlighted the factor of time management. In my experience, I have seen some students are rather good with studying for suppose 8 to 12 hours. Some claim that that is 12 to 16 hours, maybe 24 hours as well. The point being, human attention spans for about 4 seconds, and eventually you will get distracted. The more you will start clocking the time, that means this is the amount of time you have to sit with your paper, maybe it is not the right approach. It is about the quality or about the retention, about the attention span, what you are comfortable with it. I sincerely believe around 4 to 6 hours, that may at best go to 5 to about 6 or 8 hours. That is the time period, is generally speaking a candidate. If it is lower, then you increase your attention span. Maybe you sit for 45 minutes and take a break of 15 minutes and you gradually close the gap. I sincerely believe that you are appearing for the prelims for 2 hours. That means you should be at least mechanically be able to sit for 2 hours. So that does not mean anything. Rather, if you are even today not willing to pay your attention, you are sitting for 30 minutes, that has to be diligent, it has to be regular, and with time you clock from 30 minutes to 31 minutes. It can be that slow, arduous, but the point being, eventually you have to, and again we do not advise you sit for 12 hours. That means when you sit for 12 hours, you are sitting for the sake of clocking 12 hours. Probably your attention span is lesser. Though we find some students with certain core expertise, students from medicine background, they have the propensity for sit for longer hours. That's an individual expertise. That is something that should add to added advantage, right? Do not leave the preparation for 20 hours before the paper. That means you clock, that means if I say that you have to eat food for 30 days of share in one day, it cannot happen. You distribute it into 30 small portions and effectively you administer. That is the entire idea of time management, I believe.
Thank you so much, sir, for your detailed answer. Now I would like to know about the subject of which you have been teaching for years now, coming to history, Indian history, that is ancient, medieval and modern Indian history, along with art and culture. What particular piece of advice do you like to give to students to cover the syllabus of these subjects?
I believe that the portion of, suppose the notification of UPSC says that history of Indian national movement, history of India and Indian national movement. That means the very line consolidates everything under the sky as the part of the syllabus. However, this is not true, it's an exaggeration. I feel that for the purpose of prelims, there is notification says there is no world history, there is no post-independence. There is the portion of entire modern Indian history, beginning from mid-18th century till independence, 1947.
True.
And also there is a portion of art and culture along with the ancient and medieval Indian history, which shall constitute the political, social and economic history. That means the student, to prepare that, first they have to cross the basic threshold of information. Before doing that, if you attempt or think that you will be solving questions in your prelims, it will be rather a futile exercise. The first target is to grow a basic concept regarding the topics that can be effectively built by reading the new NCERTs and identifying some standard textbook for yourself. So again, there is a populist measure. You can read certain standard textbooks that is available, or rather information book that is available in the market. Or you can, if you have the time, the energy, you can read the standard textbooks, which will help you build the foundation of each of the topics. So you have to improvise wherever that means you can understand the portions. Even for history, art and culture, it's a portion of static and another portion that is dynamic. Even for a rather in common parlance that we understand it as a static subject. Even for modern India, suppose there is an ancient seaport or a rather early modern seaport that can be asked in or popular in current affairs, and it can be asked. That means you have to understand that area of superimposition. For art and culture, there is often we think that we are less aware about dance, drama, culture. It seems to be a difficult area for most of the students we deal with, and yet it can be one of the most scoring by having basic understanding about or how to engineer your prepare for the subjects. You compartmentalize. That means you look at the UNESCO heritage list, look at the Ministry of Culture, you look at the popular websites what the government is celebrating, and then you look at the paper setter's mindset with some additions, alterations, some permutation combinations. Some students do crack it, and it is the questions that are asked in the prelims, it is also to some extent predictable. For those questions that cannot be predicted, or rather on the difficult side, you have to understand that none of the students or none of the aspirants will be answering that. Do not be bothered about scoring 200 out of 200. That means you have to cross this threshold. It's a kind of horizontal and vertical growth. You have to, for every information, you have to do precision. At the same time, the extent, the variation of that topic. Once you strike the right note, the preparation is complete. For example, Spectrum is rather an important book. You can choose to read, right? You can read the new NCERTs, rather very important, I sincerely believe. For ancient India, you can read the R.S. Sharma. And in the present times, certain topics of Upinder Singh for ancient and early medieval India has become very important, though I understand it's a very bulky book. A selective reading can be very effective for the students. For medieval India, Satish Chandra, again a selective reading can suffice. So that is how I believe that you make standard notes and then you can proceed with your topic.
That is a correct approach of covering.
Yes.
Now, sir, coming to FTCP course, VisionIAS FTC Fast Track Course for Prelims 2025, could you please tell us how it's going to be a very special course and standard of the rest of the courses in the market?
Like I said before, it's again, there is no dearth of information over the internet.
Correct.
And today's world, as we have a plethora of information, there is equally misinformation. With the lack of conceptual clarity, with the habit of plagiarism, with the habit of adulteration and dilution of the original sources of information, it has become even more challenging for the candidates to clear the paper. Often we find that their foundation is often lacking. We find that they are confidently going through misinformation, considering them to be right. That is, these are some of the major challenges they only realize by failing. With the program, it has the right note of balance with the static topics, with the current affairs. We have covered the polity and governance, the economic development, the science and technology, the environment and ecology, history, art, culture, geography. So, the understanding is also about the static portion and their relevance to current affairs. It is the pet project of the VisionIAS, that is, we came out in the market for the PT 365 program, and it set a benchmark in the industry or the academic enterprise of civil services. And we are attempting towards honing these available skill sets and deliver the best that the student can have. Here it is very important for me to send the message. It is not about the coaching industry, or it is not about taking a course, but anything can be done with their own set of expertise. For suppose I sincerely believe in this notion that if somebody suppose wants to go from Thiruvananthapuram, wants to go to Ladakh. Now the point is, they can commute the distance merely by walking. A person, that means your commitment, your dedication, your energy, your time, it is significantly draining. The similar can be effectively done using suppose a scooter, maybe a rickshaw, maybe, or you can take a flight. The point being, you have to strike the right note. That means, what is the right advice for you to ensure your success selection. I am not saying that your own expertise will not be required. That is the only tool, your individuality, your own expertise. But it has to be given that particular degree of sharpness. For every individual, you need a different degree of sharpness. That the organization, the particular program you are talking about, it will cater to the requirement of the individual requirement of any aspirant. So, that is what is special about the program.
So, you have summarized it very well, the importance of FTCP. Now, could you please talk about the other aspects? For example, there is also a provision of mentorship. How important is that?
It is, I sincerely believe it is one of the key aspects and a kind of brilliant idea for the organization itself. And I believe the last mile connectivity, this is something that has been effectively provided by the mentorship program. I also sincerely believe the teachers are maybe distant from the individual requirements of the students. We cater to them in collective, and yet the mentors, they are constantly in close examination, observation about the needs and requirements and the needs of every individual student, and they need that push. And for that particular reason, the mentors are the most foundational character of this particular course, or rather the organization that is VisionIAS. So definitely that is irreplaceable, that I personally believe.
So, one of the important, you also mentioned PT 365, through which we are going to cover the dynamic aspects of the syllabus, that is current affairs. Now, one more important aspect is sectional tests. How important are sectional tests?
See, again, it is my individual opinion that a student, often it happens that a student cannot manage to continue or carry all the burden of all the subjects, and they often the students feel overwhelmed with the burden of the syllabus. And with this sectional text, see, the entire idea is that, for suppose there is a story of two kids and both wanting to end climate change. The sister decides to turn off the faucet or turn off the light after use, while the brother decides to think about plans to end climate change overnight. Rather than thinking about how to clear paper, think about how to cover one chapter or one sub-chapter of a given topic. Sectional test addresses this challenge. while the entire bulk of the syllabus looks formidable to the in front of the eyes of the students. In a fragmented approach, it is easy consumable chunks. That means you have covered a topic and you want to hone your skills. You want to sharpen your abilities to see how you process your information that you have gained or how you implement your skills. So, in that regard, the sectional tests are once again fundamental to the program. Once you cover your topics, you go through the tests and then do the process of recapitulation, revision. It has to be an ongoing process, right?
It was a very nice analogy, sir. Step by step completion of syllabus. Now, sir, let's talk about the last most important feature, which is the student portal. So, what is the importance of student portal in a fast track course?
Here again, we are also experimenting with new ideas. Again, we are experimenting with information, we are experimenting with artificial intelligence, we are experimenting with more interaction wherever that last mile connectivity is lacking. With the student portal, we are trying to address most of the challenges. Now, the student portal, suppose a student has gone through some lectures and they can access it for till about 2026. That means it is for the eventuality. We hope and best that they attain success this year itself. But those who will be needing that, or suppose those students will be appearing 2 years after, wants to start early, they can access these lectures for till 2026. Again, for a given question, what are the associate areas, associate dimensions they need further assistance. So, there will be a Q&A kind of a thing where they can interact with ask different additional questions. So, it will be more of an interactive process. If a student wants assistance, help in whatever dimension possible, they will be given the required assistance through this program. So, that is the what is special about the student portal.
So, we are going to offer PT 365 courses, sectional tests, mentorship, and this very interactive student portal. And we are also going to provide them updated material. So, we have, I think, covered each and every aspect of this course, and it has been very comprehensive. Any final words for the students, those who are targeting CSE 2025?
The entire idea is that there is no message. The idea is you discover yourself. You learn about your core area of expertise, learn to manage fear. It is not about information and processing on information. It is about execution. You need to understand that throughout your life, you have learned or you listen to lectures, you have throughout your life gone through people lecturing you, or you have read books, you are comfortable with that. The key difference is that it is a competitive examination. You have to accept it as a competitive examination. There is nothing that is failure, they are the part of the experiences. We really hold dear to our experiences of failure. That makes us who we are. We learn from the experiences, we learn from, there is a beautiful saying, with failure comes conviction, with conviction comes clarity. So, here with periodic clarity, you will develop. That means yesterday's you should be better than today's and that of the tomorrow's you. That is, you can understand it as the message. All you have to do is embark on a journey towards progress. You can today solve 10 questions correctly out of 100 questions. Tomorrow it has to be 11. You will reach there. It is about the courage, it is about the perseverance, it is about the resilience that ensures success. It is very little, basically do talent, do work, but for UPSC it is rather less creative. It is a mundane work. We have to process a huge amount of information, and that can only come through practice with regularity, with sincere periodic effort. If you can commit that to yourself, you will ensure success.
Thank you so much, sir. The message was very well stated, and thank you so much for your time and valuable inputs. Now dear students, if you want to know more about this course, visit our website. Do not miss the chance of strengthening your preparation through VisionIAS Fast Track Course. Wish you all the very best. Thank you.